Hey, I just wanted to show a quick workflow we are running. It's a lookalike workflow that we are running from one of our clients to find people who might need funding. So it's not the actual workflow, since that would might it might take the edge away from my client, but it's nevertheless a workflow that's really good at identifying whether a company might need funding. So we have this list of people we've uploaded here, and what we start by doing is we are creating a waterfall with fundraising data. So the best way to do this is actually just to go in here, press add enrichment, and you can search for something like funding, and you'll have this waterfall option here. So we did funding stage, not total funding. We're not too interested in how much they acquired in like the last funding, but we are more like interested in the funding stage there. So we want to run this workflow. Harmonic, by the way, is the first run that's running, which is by far the best for this. But we also have Zenro running in the end here. So you see this column here basically expresses what type of funding the person or the company is currently looking at, right? And this is super relevant because you see here it says seed, but here it says something like Series A. There's all the way up to Series B, Series C, Series D even. And Series D requires a lot more money, like a lot more funding than seed does. It's a completely different stage in the company in their lifetime. So this can change everything and decide whether you actually want to reach out to the company or not. Because some people don't really they don't really look for companies who are looking for Series D funding or Series C funding or whatever. Besides that, we actually get this information that's called M&A. So that just means mergers and acquisitions. So we can see here, for example, from Zenro, that the ownership status is acquired merged. So what I'm doing when I'm looking for a company that might be looking for funding, we have to kind of work backwards. What are some indicators that this is a company that might be looking for funding? And an indicator that they're surely not is if they have recently been merged or acquired. If they've been acquired, they usually do not need funding. They have just been bought up or acquired by another company. So it's really rare they'll need funding. So we don't really want to reach out to those guys. Besides that, we also want to see the indicator that they have gotten funding before. So if this funding stage is like completely empty, and if you can see on Harmonic here, funding stage null, funding total null, last funding null, it basically means they haven't gotten funding before, which makes them less likely to go for funding again. So what I've done is I've taken the formula, the conditional formula that Clay offers, and you can use AI to do this. So I'm basically saying if the ownership status does like if it includes acquired or the funding stage is empty, which basically means that if they have either been acquired or never received funding before, express false. Otherwise, just express true. So it does this. So here it says false because it has received funding before. Here it says false because it hasn't received funding before. And here it says false because it has recently been acquired. So what I did after that is thinking, okay, what's another indicator that a company might be looking for funding? So a really good indicator that a company would be looking at funding is if they're growing. If they're currently growing, they might need funding soon and they are likely to attract it, right? So I've used this find company headcount growth, which basically expresses for any company the amount of employees at a given like period of months, and it also expresses the percentage growth over some months. Obviously, if it's a minus in front, it's because it's negative growth, which means the company is declining, which you can see this one is pretty much. So this one is probably not someone we want to reach out to. So what we've now done is we've created another conditional formula saying, okay, it's a bit messy now, but this is basically saying that if either the percentage growth of employees the last 3 months or the last 6 months is above 8%, express true. If it hasn't grown 8% in either of those time periods, express false, because we want a company that's growing. This is really important to us. And if they've just like gotten like 1 quarter where they had like one person fired and it went down, that's okay. That's why we are taking 2 periods and seeing do they have overall growth. And if they do, it expresses true here. So now we have a list of companies that have received funding and haven't been acquired, and companies that are growing as well. Now we just create this last formula, which is basically just saying if both these like contain true and we want to contact them, express true. Otherwise, express false, basically. So as you can see here, um, this is the best example. It says true here because it's not M&A and it's not empty, but they are not growing. So it's false. So overall, it will be false, which means we likely won't reach out to them because they don't fit our criteria. Which you can see some of the else, like some of the rest does, right? So we have 6 companies here out of the small 10 I just ran that we actually can reach out to that fit our criteria. And this kind of changes everything, right? It doesn't mean the rest of the leads are useless. You can just reach out to them in another way. You can use another service, or you can use them more experimentally. So I hope this workflow helped you understand a bit more how you can use Clay to qualify your clients. It doesn't have to be through funding. There's a million ways you can do this, and I hope this kind of homogenizes for what Clay actually can do.